So look, if ever there's been a time that's appropriate to have this discussion, it's now. The most recent Pope has just passed on. His successor will soon be elected, and it's a beautiful time to have this discussion. Is the Pope a biblical role, or is the Pope a role the Catholic Church just made up? And so let's answer this question as honestly as we can, and let me make this very clear. I'm a Protestant, and for somebody like me to say what I'm saying requires there to be a lot of honesty. To answer the question, is the Pope a biblical role, we have to go back to the New Testament. And I'm going to do this very quickly, but I'm going to try to be very concise. Jesus calls 12 men to follow him. These are known as the 12 apostles. They follow Jesus for 3+ years. They eat with him. They walk with him. They see all of his miracles. They watch him raise the dead. And they know that this man is special. He's not like anyone else they've ever seen before. And then in Matthew chapter 16, not too long before Jesus predicts his death, and not too long before Jesus eventually goes to the cross, Jesus asks the disciples, "Who do men say that I am?" And some of the disciples said, "Some say you're Elijah, and some say you're Jeremiah, and some say you're just a prophet." And Jesus says, "Who do you say that I am?" And Simon stands up and says, "Thou art the Christ, the Son of the living God." And Jesus says, "Simon, thou art Peter, and upon this rock will I build my church." The word Peter, the name Peter, Petros, literally means rock. Jesus says, "Simon, your name is now Peter, rock, and upon this rock will I build my church." And it's clear that Peter became somewhat the leader of the apostles. It was Peter who made all the decisions, and it was Peter who would preach that first sermon and form the church and establish the church and found the church. And the Bible tells us that the apostles were the foundation of the church. And through Christ, Peter will be the leader who will make sure the church functions in the manner it's supposed to function. When Jesus was taken to the cross, two things happened. One, Judas, who betrayed Jesus with a kiss, took his own life as a result of the remorse he felt. So Judas is now dead. The other reality is Peter denied knowing Jesus 3 times. Peter denied even being associated with Jesus, and then he heard the rooster crow and he realized, wait a minute, I just denied my Lord. And then you remember when Jesus was raised from the dead, in the last chapter of the Gospel of John, we see Jesus reinstating Peter. Jesus asks Peter a question, "Peter, do you love me?" And Peter says, "Lord, you know I love you." Jesus says, "Feed my lambs." Jesus says to him again, "Peter, do you love me?" And Peter says, "Lord, I love you. You know I love you." Jesus says, "Take care of my sheep." And again Jesus says, "Peter, do you love me?" Peter says, "Lord, you know all things. You know I love you." Jesus says, "Take care of my sheep." And then Jesus is ascending into heaven. This is now the book of Acts, chapter 1. And Jesus tells the disciples, the 11 of them, to wait because he's going to send them the Holy Spirit. And the 11 disciples, together with about 109 other people, are in the upper room. And Peter, standing up, asserting his authority, taking charge of the situation, Peter says, "Brothers and sisters, you know that Judas is now dead. He was a part of us. So let us elect another who will take his place. Somebody who's an eyewitness of the resurrection of Jesus. Somebody who saw the risen Christ." And Peter gets everybody to cast lots, and a man by the name of Matthias is elected. Matthias joins the 11, and now they become 12. And so we already see a few things here. We see one, that Peter is called the rock, that Peter is the one taking charge, making decisions. It's Peter who will preach the message of the gospel in Acts 2, and the church is birthed. He's doing what Jesus told him he was going to do. So we see that Peter is called the rock. Jesus gives him authority. Somebody takes Judas' place in the apostolic ministry. Peter preaches the message of the gospel. The church is birthed, and the apostles are now leading the church. They are overseers of the church. Now listen very carefully. As time went on, Christians were scattered because of persecution, and the church began to grow. And every time churches were planted, every time churches were being birthed, the apostles were finding leaders and overseers for the church. And you can find people in the New Testament, people like Timothy and Titus, who played the part of overseers in the church. And so the apostles were passing on the baton to people. And that's where the Catholic Church gets the idea of overseers and bishops from. In other words, what the Catholic Church says, if you go back 2,000 years, from 2025, from Pope Francis, you will go all the way back to the apostles. And the Catholic Church believes that their bishops, the overseers of their churches, are direct successors of the apostles. In other words, the apostles passed the baton, they passed the baton, they passed the baton, and then they died, and these men passed the baton and passed the baton, and they died. And it happened throughout history until Pope Francis, and it's going to happen again when they now elect a new bishop. Now notice I use the word bishop and not a pope, because ultimately the pope is a bishop. He is the bishop of the bishops. He is the leader of the bishops. He is the one making sure all the bishops are doing what they're supposed to do. He is the head bishop to make sure there's order in the church. I mean, we call, even on the Protestant side, people like Ignatius and all the rest, we call them church fathers. We have no problem with that. Then how is it that we have a problem with the title Pope, which literally means father? And all the Catholic Church is saying is this: like the bishops are the successors of the apostles, the Pope, who is the head bishop, is the successor of Peter. And just like Peter headed that church, the Pope heads the church. And we are not suggesting that the Pope is the head of the church, because Christ is the head of the church. When we use the term head, we are referring to leadership.